touching. He's going to look at the third person. He's going to look. Never going to be. The ball is ridiculous. Oh my God.
Gentlemen, welcome to the eSport Hubs podcast. My name is Campbell. Joining along me are the usual hosts, of course. It's Paradox and also Tony. But we've got special guests joining us tonight. But we're going to be talking about a region that we're not that knowledgeable about, but we're going to give it our best shot anyway. We're going to be talking about CWLSydney, and obviously that is the next event that's coming up in the CWL series. Going to have all the Australian teams battling it out against each other to see if they can get their pro points up as well. So, anyway, how have you been, guys? I mean, look, I've got my hair cut, by the way.
Yeah, I cut my beard as a request from Dirk. So, yeah.
I've got less grey.
Cut the beard.
Yeah. You've got less grey. Is that because the podcast is helping out, or?
Nah, it's because I've had it cut, mate, so it's harder to see.
That's what it is then. I mean, you see you're rocking a polo again. You love your polos, don't you? I'm liking it, though.
It's beautiful.
I'm trying to go through things, you know what I mean? I don't want to be seen in the same outfit twice.
Wouldn't want to be cross-dressing with somebody else either. You know what I mean? And also, I think maybe, what do you think, Paradox? Maybe we get Tony like a eSport Hub polo?
Yeah, that sounds good.
More importantly, we've got to see what he's got in the back of his... He's always got a different jersey or something in the back of his room, isn't it?
Which one are you rocking today, Paradox?
That's my champ's jersey. It's just turned around, so that's my name on it.
It's just his champ's jersey, Tony. Just his champ's jersey.
It's been there almost every week.
We've had MV, we've had FaZe. It isn't always been champs.
It's the day that we get him to have an EU one hanging from there. That's the day.
Dude, if I get a Splice hoodie, I'll put it back there 100%.
Maybe we've got to start talking to some people, Johnny. Maybe get those connections in. We can promise you Paradox will rock a Splice hoodie in the background of the eSports Talk Show. But anyway, let's start to get through what it is that we're talking about today. So, guys, I need to start this conversation with you, right? We're talking CWLSydney. Let's take a look at it, though. Let's bring up that bracket for you on screen and take a look at the groups. Okay, so going into this one, there's only a few teams in this one that I'll be honest, I recognise. Okay.
Garlic bread.
That is the one thing.
Garlic bread, let's
go. When I took a look at this group, right, the first name that stood out to me was Garlic Bread. And do you know what the funniest thing is? It's the
I fail to believe this isn't the first time you've had a look at this, knowing how much prep you do.
Honestly, I pulled up the team thing earlier and I was like, Garlic Bread in pool play, which means like there should be at least a decent team. Mm-hmm. Interesting organisation name, but I like it, so I'm going to stick with it. But anyway, in terms of teams that I actually know, Tainted Minds, obviously from the previous Black Ops 3 CWL, Mind Freak, Chiefs. They're the three that I recognise. Now, Paradox, I've heard you've been doing a little bit of research into the CWLSydney side of things, the Australian region of Call of Duty. Now, how about you fill us in? Let us know a little bit about a few of these rosters.
All right, so looking at, you got your Tainted Minds, Nimble Zeus, Damage, Dens. Everybody should recognize a good amount of those names. If you've been paying attention to stuff that's going on internationally, then, of course, you have Mind Freak with Buzzo, Fighter, Shocks, and Excite. Then, of course, just rounding out the ones that people already know, Chiefs, Dean, Eminence, Lakey, and Fate. That's where we start to move into some of the other teams. Two teams that I really want to highlight because I want to see how they do here. Remember, we've moved into APAC now, so it's not just ANZ region. We have Rampage and Unveil Nova. These are two Asian teams coming through. They placed up top at the Asian qualifier. And looking at this, I feel like Unveil Nova is probably going to be the team that you get a little bit further to see. They've been getting, 5th through 8th place in some of the 2Ks. I know Rampage made a run here in a 2K before, but looking at this, I feel like they might come out and place like that 9th through 12th spot at this event, but I really am looking at this event to see, all right, this is the test for the Asian teams coming over. We only have 2 of them, but we got to see what they do. Chiefs is also a team that I want to highlight because if we look over at what's been going on in the CGPL stuff, they've dropped a little bit. They're 1-3 as of right now. I want to see if they can bounce back on land.
Well, if you didn't know about CWLSydney,
professional than us.
you do now. You know everything about CWLSydney. You're actually going to tune in. Thanks to Paradox for doing that one and getting us all that information that we need to know. But let's talk about the Asia teams a little bit. I mean, they are dominating the PC scene, right? League of Legends, Dota, StarCraft, Call of Duty. Not really seen Asia teams do a great deal in Call of Duty, but like you said, teams to look out for. Maybe they can do something. But this is the question I have to fire out to you, Tony, right? Get you a little bit involved in this Australian discussion. I mean, where does the APAC region really stand in terms of Call of Duty?
To be fair to them, right, they went to the event in America the other week, Atlanta, weren't it? And they didn't do terrible. You know what I mean? They've done all right. They didn't embarrass themselves. So some of them are good. You know what I mean? They do well with those in Europe, for example.
Yeah.
Some of them probably not. What you got to think of as well is, especially for, as you sort of just touched on, with the Asian thing, COD is probably going to be quite far down the pecking list of games people want to play. So if you're going to be a competitive gamer, it may not be their first choice. It may be because they like it. You know what I mean? I don't want to stereotype, but in the UK, generally, a lot of lads go for COD because you've got more chance of being relevant in the whole scene as COD. You know what I mean? If you're a good COD player, you can play against the Europeans. CS:GO in that, if you're good in the English scene, it's nothing compared to the Europeans. You know what I mean? So we probably do best at COD out of the esports. So it's up there. But for the Asian, it'd be interesting to see. You know what I mean? Imagine if they had a good team that done well. The effect it'll have on COD globally. You know what I mean? Because the amount of people over there.
I mean, I think that's what we're looking for, though, as well, though, Tony. When you say about this Asia team, like if they have a good performance and they start to shock people, we're looking for somebody to shock these NA players. They've done it for years and years and years and years. We thought Splice were probably the closest team to disrupt to anything in American Call of Duty when it came to World Champs. Obviously fell out short at second, but it's so difficult because every single year we're just chasing and chasing and chasing that dream, literally the American dream.
What you've got to think, though, for ages, they were the ones that were getting all the money. So EU people and all that, they couldn't. It's because they're behind, you know what I mean? So they needed it. But everyone else couldn't. You couldn't really do it. Except for an handful of people, it wasn't a feasible thing to do full time, you know what I mean? And put the time and the effort that they put in, and it wasn't as much as a career structure. That's changing a bit now, and I think you're seeing us sort of make more of an effort. And I think the more it changes, the you know what I mean? Over time, I think we will catch up. Do you know what? I do have a fact that I sort of stole off of someone earlier. You know, Australia was the first female pro to make it into the CWL. Yeah. That's my interesting fact that I stole off. Yeah, it was. I got a name written here in case I forgot it. But yeah, so that's something that it's given the world a COD anyway, regardless of anything else that their teams do. You know what I mean?
I was gonna say, like, it's unfortunate, like, looking back on the Black Ops 3 and thinking of, like, how big of a moment it was for Squidgy to, like, make it in, and then, like, or Squizzy to make it in, and then it sort of, they didn't do very well when it came to stage 1, I'll say that. But, yeah, like, a lot of these APAC teams are coming over. You think Mindfree comes 17th through 20th before, and looking on the side of the Asian, like, that's respectable, for sure. They place the same as TK, C9, and EG. Right, yeah. So these are teams that people in NA, people in EU are always thinking about. And on the other side of that, like, I'm really just into this whole Asian teams coming back into Call of Duty. You think before that, it seems like a joke. You have stories of players going to champs, putting a controller down and trying to hit it like it was a keyboard. Like, the really only standout name in Asia was Delashi. And since then, I don't even know if he's playing anymore. But to see these two teams come out and sort of have this integration and try and build up that scene as a whole, I think it's really good.
Well, I mean, this is all what it is about in Call of Duty, you know, generating competition. And the more levels and the more different regions you pump into competitive Call of Duty, the more difficult it is. We always talk about how teams favour against other teams because they don't get the chance to practice against them. They don't get the chance to understand how that team plays. You know, you throw an Asian team smack bang in the middle of the North American groups, you never know what's going to happen. Obviously, on paper, you expect the North American teams to go through and wipe through that team. But that they might have strategies that North America have never played against in their life, and they could end up losing the map. And when you lose the map to a team you're not expected to, mentally, it can affect some players and some teams, okay? So, let's move on, though, a little bit. I want to touch on the APAC region a little bit more, because talking about Black Ops 3, which is what where we really saw Australia really have an impact. I think it was Denz, I think, that impressed me the most. Like, he had like an insane performance. Now, I think it was you, Paradox, who was talking a few weeks ago about integration. You know, how we're going to see EU and NA teams team together again. Is there likely the chance that possibly Australia could be involved in that as well?
I mean, I would like to see it. Right, especially when you talk of the likes of Mind Freak, Tatum Mines, and some of the players on Chiefs that have proven themselves year after year at this point. I feel like we're closer to NA EU integration than we are to like EU APAC or NA APAC integration. I don't know. I feel like a good amount of these guys still have a lot to prove. They're hungry, 100%, without a doubt. I just don't know if anyone's going to reach out to them and say, hey, come over here, we'll help you. You can play on our roster and you'll get some plays against the best of the best. I mean, we even look back to, what was that, the Crown Invitational last year, and we look at how some of the teams did. We had an NA versus the EU Grand Final. I don't know if a lot of these players are going to reach out over to the APAC region.
Well, I'm going to ask an interesting question for you two because I really want to know the answer to it. So, Tony, I'm putting you on the spot a little bit here with the whole throwing Australia in there. But let's say, for example, we're all organisation owners like Tony. Okay, we've got all the money in the world. We've got to build a team.
Not like Tony.
We've got to build a team with at least an Australian, a North American, and an EU player in the roster. Okay? Pen is out. Tony, getting the checkbook ready to start paying some wages.
Yeah,
I was thinking of the new international Bulldog roster. So, Paradox, I bully you on this show. I'm coming to you first.
Oh, yeah.
Come on, hit me with it. Give me.
All right.
So you can have 2 NA players. Obviously, you've got to fill a roster of 4. You can have 2 NA players or 2 EU players, but it must have an EU, an NA, and an Australian region player. Now, this also applies to you guys in the chat as well. Make sure you get involved. You want to let us know on Twitter, #ESHUB, or let us know in the chat. We will have a look at your answers. But first, we're going to go over to the man from America. It's Paradox. Let us know, man.
All right. I'm taking Formal and John from NA. It's going to be my first one. My pick from APAC is going to be Dens. Okay. And EU, let's see. I'm going to go with... let's see. Who do I want to go with here from EU? Honestly, I'm going to go with Jerd. This game, you think you have Formal, who's been a standout player throughout the entire year so far. You back him up with 3 players that can really play aggressive, but also know when to slow down the pace if need be, and that have been around the scene for a long time. I feel like that's a decent roster you can throw if you're putting all 3 regions together.
Definitely. I'd be happy to pay some wages for that roster, but Tony, let us know.
All right, I'd go with Dens from Australia because of my limited amount of knowledge. And you still keep saying he's good. I'd go with Formal from the NA because although you could have other people, but I just think the kid's fucking awesome. You know what I mean? Yeah. I really do. And then from the EU, I'd go for Chunk and Patto. They're both hungry as well. You should see them at a bar. You know what I mean? Put the food out. You can see how hungry both of the lads are. And it'd just be interesting to see if Dens and Formal can drag them through, and they both obviously play for me. So I wouldn't be getting rid of them because I'm a good owner. I'd be bringing Formal and Dens into my organisation.
And that is the Bulldog intel for you. Tony is looking to pick up Dens and Formal.
Yeah, why not?
Here we go.
Maybe it goes well for you, maybe not. Hey, the Bulldog team house with Formal.
There's
Dens
some people in the chat giving their opinion on it as well.
Awesome. Right, let's take a look then. So. Apart from which is Johnny on the I think it's it's not Johnny on the eSports Hub. It's actually going to be Kendall who's called me a hedgehog. Thank you very much for your input anyway. But okay then. So Aerox Infinity came in and said Scump, Formal, Joe and Dens. I like that. I like the fact
nice.
Joe.
Everyone's got Dens.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. Okay, what else we got? So we got I can't even pronounce that. Is it Koch? C-Koch? We'll go with C-Koch. Tommy, Formal, Scump and Dens. That's a nasty little roster because you think as well Tommy in there. You know what Tommy's like with individuals. He can change anybody.
If I weren't going to have Patto and Chunk, I would have had Tommy and someone, to be honest. I just think Tommy's awesome in this game.
You would have had Wuskins and Scrap.
Do
you know what? I was tempted to do that, right? If it wasn't for what had happened, right, I was tempted to go and have Wuskins and Scraps, you know what I mean? But no, seriously, I'd have Tommy just because I think as a leader in this game, he's good. And if you watch him, even when he plays pickups with
reminds me though, Tony. Talking about leaders, can we just talk really quickly before we move on about how much of a leader have we seen Formal become? Like Black Ops 3, let's be honest, I'm not trying to say he's not a vocal human being because he was very vocal back in Black Ops 3, but he has 100% taken this captaincy role right from Scump and literally gone, look, I am going to be in charge. I'm going to win championships. This year, I am not failing champs. And that's the mindset I'm getting across from him. And I think, you know what? What's your opinion on that, guys? Like, do you see Formal as that vocal leader, or is Scump not pulling his weight? What's going on?
Formal's just amazing at every game, though, isn't he? Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's just one of those people, you know, like the person that everyone likes but really hates because he could just do everything.
Yeah.
You can imagine him being one of them. Whatever he does, he's going to be good at it. So if he's going to be a captain, he'll be a good captain. It's just he's one of those lucky people that fucking hate.
I like seeing Formal step up, right? Fill some shoes, help this roster, and I feel like they're all starting to gel now. So whether they'll 100% need that vocal leadership from Formal, I don't know, as they move into the future. Hopefully, maybe not, because all four of them seem to actually finally click now. And now that the wheel is running out the gaming train, I got to say Dallas is going to be really interesting for sure.
And Dallas obviously is going to be, well, if Optic are to win that one, it is going to be Crimsix's 30th championship.
Good
That
God.
in itself is some sort of accomplishment. I mean, in my head, I'm just thinking money, 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 money. That's all I'm thinking. That's all I can think right now. But, 30 championship, that is some success. Anyway, guys, that has been our talk on CWLSydney. We hope that you are now more knowledgeable in it. Thank you very much to Paradox. And we hope you're a little bit less knowledgeable in it. Thank you very much to Tony. But anyway, what we're going to do now is we're going to move on to the Rostermania segment. A lot of things have happened since we last had this discussion. So, yeah, let's move on to the Rostermania segment.
That was seamless, by the way.
Smooth, Tony?
That was smooth, mate.
So smooth.
There we go. How smooth? That's smooth. Right, awesome. Let's move on to then Rostermania. Guys, there is literally so much to talk about. We've only got... I wish we had all night, because if we did, we could talk all night about Rostermania. There's been a lot of stuff happening in Europe. Paradox, we've seen a few changes over in North America, but not a great deal. I'm actually quite surprised by how little changes we saw.
Yeah.
But
I
mainly
have a theory on that, though.
Over in EU. Right, well, let's kick it off straight away. Paradox, talk to me. Why do you not reckon... I mean, let's be honest, right? Take a look at ESWC. Not the best performances for the majority of the NA teams. I think the one team I expected to see a team change happen that didn't was Cloud9. And they decided to stick through the basic shit show that has been going on for the past couple of months. I can't believe Tony's now making me fucking swear. And I've done it again. Tony's now making me swear. Jeez, this effect he has on me, like, oh
yeah, I can see the gun to you.
The professionalism has completely gone out the window. Anyway,
it's a good job.
Rubbish hooey panty show coming in from Cloud9. I thought those would be the team change that happened the most. Paradox, why are NA so persistent that they have the best teams going?
So I feel like it's just a factor of the system that we have this year. The pro point system completely. You look at Cloud9, they're sitting at 8th. I say right now they are 100% a bubble team as we look at stage 1 because we're taking 9 teams from North America. You think the teams, E6, Cloud9, Panda, and Gosu, EG, and Allegiance are the bubble teams right now. So that's 7th through 12th. Unless you're trading up, there's no reason to trade at all. You're not going to go up to Envy and say, hey, can we get John? You're not going to go to FaZe like, oh, let's get Zuma or let's get Scump or something. A lot of these rosters aren't going to change. E6, not going to change 100%. I believe that. C9 said they're staying together. So what, are you going to trade down? Maybe, and maybe cost yourself in pro points and have to have a huge showing in Dallas? Like, maybe if there's a time to experiment with rosters, you have, like, right now. Because your roster for Dallas is your roster for stage 1. So I feel like with a lot of these teams that aren't clicking, probably just stick through it.
I mean, this is the thing, though. Like, you've got to think to yourself, yeah, okay, I understand where you're coming from. You know, you don't trade down, you don't lose position in the LAN league. But what's the point of having a position in the LAN league if you're going to go in and you're going to get like destroyed? Like
money.
Well,
It's guaranteed. Yeah, it's guaranteed money and exposure.
Money does a lot. No lie there. But who is it we saw now? Cast back to Black Ops 3, there was somebody that went I think it was 0-14. Was it Supremacy? In the EU CWL.
Was it Vitality?
No, it might have been Vitality.
Yeah.
That was it. Vitality. I mean, you talk of exposure, Paradox. That was the wrong type of exposure.
Oh, yeah. 100%. So you think some of these teams, they might have that, but you think the saying that we always go to is any publicity is good publicity. right?
Mm,
And if you're telling me there's a $500,000 pool here for stage 1, you have 200,000 more if you make the playoffs. I'm like, all right, let's try and work this out. Especially for a bubble team, we have 2K coming up before the lock, and then you have Dallas.
Yeah.
2 huge opportunities. It's just a matter of E69 and Panda, they have to hold. They can't let Gosu, EG, or Allegiance creep up in there. And for EG and Allegiance, you have to make runs in Dallas, right? And if you're C9, you can't just bottom out.
Yeah, I guess you're right there. Well, it looks like they are going to have to stick together, and those points obviously make so much of a difference this year, and that is the case why we're seeing those stick. But not in the case of EU. They've just decided to just go all guns crazy and start swapping everybody left, right, and centre. First one I want to talk about, though, this new red reserve roster. Now, Tony, I'm coming to you for this one.
Okay.
Red reserve, the new roster. I mean, how's it looking for you? Is it an improvement?
I think, and I thought this for a while, like, between a certain group of people, right, they're all, I mean, they're not all the same sort of gun skill and that, but I always, my opinion, a lot of it's chemistry and how well we getting on with each other. And you can take people out of certain teams and put them into another team, and it's really hard to say. For me to sit here now and say, is that better or worse, is just crazy. I'll have to see how it goes, because it's going to depend on the chemistry, how they get on. Do they like each other more than the last person? Because you've got to remember, like, you're not always going to be able to put 4 people together that are going to get on over a period of time. And that can have a detrimental effect on the team. If you're going to be best of the friends at the start of it, 2 events down the line, you know what I mean? You think someone's not pulling their weight, and that can have a bad effect on it. So you can bring someone in of a similar ability, but that you think you'll all get on well with, and it can have a positive effect. So it's hard to say, mate. I'd like to think, because of the people involved and they know what they're doing, that it's going to have a positive effect on the team.
Yeah, I mean, Paradox, the Red Reserve roster is probably the most changed roster, really.
Yeah.
Players dipping left, right, and centre all over the place, right? Break it down for me in your perspective. I want to know where you're coming from with this one, with this new Red Reserve roster. I mean, is it an improvement in your eyes, though?
I don't know, because that original roster, I feel like there was so much potential there, right? Mm-hmm. Especially like we look early on and everything. This might be one of those situations where, okay, you're able to make a trade. You're sitting at 3rd. Really, your spot isn't really in jeopardy because of the talent of these players. I don't think they're going to bottom out or anything. So why not? If you think this is going to be something that improves your team going forward, especially as we go into the Global Pro League, I mean, why not, right? I just really want to see this team play a little bit more. I do believe if I go and look at the recent performance, the last 2K, they come out and play 2nd, right? So
who won that?
Looks like things are at least working online.
Was that
Pepsi? God, he's going to Fnatic. Here we go, the Fnatic.
Yeah, it was, wasn't it? That was actually a really, really good win from Fnatic. I mean, I managed to catch the last 2 games. Fnatic, was it reverse sweep the semis and the finals? Yeah, it was. That was correct, yeah. And then the S&D, I mean, did you see the S&D against the French Team Supremacy? Did you see it?
No,
I didn't see it.
Oh, the final round was insane. It was literally a case of it went round 11. And obviously everybody knows, everyone says, look, nobody beats Supremacy. I mean, Supremacy, before they came up against Fnatic in the semi-finals, just beat the new Splice roster 3-0. Okay? Mm-hmm. Splice didn't stand a chance. I mean, this is what we say, the Supremacy roster, they are insane online. So Fnatic take them, after being 2-0 down to Game 5 on Crusher, Search and Destroy. It goes to round 11, and it's Tommy and Scraps versus 3 of the other players on the Supremacy roster. Tommy gets literally shot by about 3 or 4 bullets and stands in a corner jumping up and down, trying to survive so hard. And as he's doing that, Scraps runs in and gets a 2-piece, and Tommy jumps out and gets the final kill. The reaction on Tommy's stream from them was absolutely insane. Like, they couldn't believe they just clutched up to somehow beat Supremacy online and advance through to that finals where they played up against, which I think, was it the Red Reserve roster?
Yeah, that's how we
got it was with Niall. Niall's obviously. So that's an interesting pickup for me. So we talked about how Team 3G were going to have changes, right? We said Weeman was going to go, and the rest of the roster would state they'd go LF1. Now, was it Revolt that we spoke about coming into Team 3G, or was he going somewhere else?
Imperial, mate.
That was it, Imperial. Yeah. But in terms of, we thought Weeman was on his way out, and then Niall ends up going over to Red Reserve. Now, was this something that anybody expected to see?
I didn't, because that team right now, since I don't think we actually went down. Joe, Urban, Niall, and Shawnee. It wasn't a move I expected, for sure. But I'm interested to see how it plays out, like 100%, especially since they look good.
I'm quite surprised that Joe's ended up in that position. Now, it's not like I don't rate the players around him. I mean, they are good players. But Joe, in my eyes, has always been in Millennium with your Mad Cats, with your Swannies, been in your Splice roster with your Bances, with your top EU players. And I'm not saying that the players he's with now are not top EU, but in my eyes, it feels like Joe is trying to get a project that's not big already and build on that. I mean, they got second.
Do you know what? Right, with this game, I think there's a smaller skill gap, and it's more about teamwork and how teams get on.
Okay,
right.
So it's a lot more friends groups now.
I won't say friends group, but I think like look at E United and that, for example. Like on some games, you know what I mean. Like that may not have happened, but they've been teaming for a while. They get up. They obviously will get on. You know what I mean. A bit underrated. They played well for that event as a team, and they've done well because of that. And I just think, like I said earlier, I think there's a group of players, and like Niall as well. People may not. He's been in the CWL like every year. You know what I mean. I think, because he qualified for the first time with that team.
Yeah.
And then, so he's been thereabouts. You know what I mean? So I don't think he's a bad player. He could be part of the reason why Team 3G done better than everyone was expecting.
This is the question, though, Tony. Do you see this as a World Champs team? Do you see this as a top 3 World Champs team? I mean, you've got the likes of Niall. Yes, he's been in the scene for quite a while, but he's never really been at the pinnacle point.
And this because he didn't have the people around him.
True.
At some point, no one was at that pinnacle point until someone gave him a chance. Look at Wuskins. Niall was in a better. Niall, if anything, he's got a better pedigree than Wuskins had, right? But Wuskins is playing for Fnatic on stage, like going unreal. You know what I mean? In S&Ds and that. Like I said, and I think this is the game that allows people to do that because of the way it is. You know what I mean? And like, so it's hard to say about someone that's Niall that, like I said, that has always been around, maybe in the peripheries, but like at the lower levels of it. But he's always been there, so maybe he deserves this chance.
Maybe then. Maybe that will be the case on that one. Anyway, let's move on to a different Rostermania then. I want to take a look at the other thing that's happened. So, Rated has rejoined Reedy back over on Elevate. So, those two have partnered back together again. Obviously, that's the replacement for Shawnee, who dropped out, who's now joined that roster we were just talking about, Red Reserve. So, I rate the roster on Elevate. They were... It always felt like they just couldn't get that final hurdle with Elevate this year so far for me. They pushed and pushed through, beating the likes of Cloud9. Obviously, that's where we saw the Reedy and the whole Aches thing begin. Moving on, and they were beating some great teams, pushing forward, and it came to that last hurdle, and they just couldn't get past it. It was like once tiredness hit, they didn't go through. Now, we spoke about the Shawnee and the experience. Obviously, he's been able to go on with that and join a very talented roster with Red Reserve. Not something I expected either. That's one thing that I think that we can all say is there are a lot of things that have happened we didn't expect to happen. So Shawnee out, Reedy in. Now,
Rated
in. So is it?
I think for Elevate, that's a good move.
For Elevate,
I feel like it'll help.
Yeah.
For
Elevate, that's like
Reedy and Rated enjoy playing with each other, like.
Yeah.
And they've played with each other for a while.
Is it for Rated?
Elevate's been doing well. But Elevate's been
doing well.
Yeah, I don't think that's a step down or anything. I think Elevate, like, maybe because of the same thing with Noel. People play too much attention to COD on paper. COD isn't played on paper. So, you know what I mean? It's okay saying this player's better, that player's better. Optic prove it all the time when they choke events, when on paper they should beat everyone. And this is the thing, like, I think Elevate have been doing really well, like, and I've enjoyed watching them do well because I like Reedy. But, you know what I mean? And I think Rated and Reedy teaming up again, they've proved in the past.
Let's be honest, though, if you're talking about two people who will willingly speak whatever they want in the scene, you put them both in the same team. I mean, there must be people in Elevate sat back going, "Oh God, no!
Hello.
Oh, please don't tweet anything like, You can imagine that Rated.
The owner's got to have a good sense of humour, isn't he?
You can imagine that Rated and Reedy were in their own interview with the owner, like their personal interview, where the owner just went, "Here's a list of things we don't want you to do if you want to receive your paycheck at the end of the month." I can imagine. I mean, let's be honest though. Like, if Aches clashes with Reedy again, you can imagine. For a fact, I just fling my headset set right across. But you can imagine as well that Rated's going to get involved in that one, and will equally involve in
Rated in Reedy versus Aches and Lacefield.
You can imagine Rated's
man.
Rated's got Reedy's back against Cloud9, and then Rated's got and then Reedy's got ratings back against Clayster. So like it's like EU's teaming up like against NA right now, just building these armies against each other. But it's a great move, I think, for Elevate. I think you're right on that one. Great to see what they can do in the future. The next one that's really like stood out for me is Zero to Splice. Now the Splice roster was a stacked roster. You know, great talent, leadership in Josh. Now you take that leadership out and replace it with somebody that's not known for having leadership. Where does it leave Splice? Who steps forward for that Splice roster? Madcat, okay, he's not a leader, right? But he's vocal.
Yeah.
Jerd, not vocal at all, really. He calls out and stuff, but he's not that man that's going to stand up and push a team forward. Zero has not really been known for that when he played for Red Reserve either, because it was rated that it was the vocal leader for them. And then their final player as well, I can't believe I forgot this.
Bance,
that's it. Bance isn't, I mean, out
this
of
is
that,
his time, I feel like.
out of that, I would say was
mate,
him.
someone to step up. Look at Formal. Formal wasn't
true.
always known as a captain type.
Who would you pick, though, Tony?
There's enough experience in that team. Who would I have?
As a lead role, if you owned that team and went, look, you are the captain of this roster.
Madcat.
Okay, is that experience based?
Experience, the fact that he's confident, and stuff like that. You know what I mean? He's known, he's confident, he's done a lot. That's personally the sort of thing I look for in a captain. Just think the captain ain't always got to be the in-game leader neither.
No.
That's what I was gonna bring up too. It's like
the captain's the person that levels everyone down. You know what I mean? When something's going wrong, the captain's the one that says, "Come on, boys, we can do this." You know what I mean? We can dig deep here. I've been here before. I know we can turn this around. That's what I look for from a captain.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be the in-game leader though.
I'd say have Bance as your in-game leader and give the paper title of captain to Madcat or Zero.
Yeah. I mean, it's a situational thing as well there. You know, I'm pretty sure anybody on that team, if they wanted to, probably minus Jerd, could be the vocal leadership for that team. I mean, Jerd's a very quiet man. If any of you have actually met him in real life, he can be quite
Jerd
quiet. Jerd friends, yeah. Bro friends. At least we've got the thumbs in there. But, I mean, let's be honest, like, I don't know. I think it's a team that's building around 4 Slayers. This is what Optic did, you know? When Optic picked up Crimsix, Karma, Formal, Scum, it was a team of 4 Slayers. And this whole Jetpack game, meaning Black Ops 3 and IW, is all about slaying power. You know, Boots on the Ground is more tactical. I mean, that's why the likes of Killer and the likes of Parasite, the likes of Miracles were so good at those type of games, because they are very, very, very smart Call of Duty players. When it comes to reaction time and slaying power, they've never really been known for dropping the 40 bombs. And I think that's why we've seen them slowly fall back to the pecking order. And maybe the next Call of Duty that comes out, rumoured that it's Boots on the Ground, maybe we see those players return. But before we do wrap up Rostermania, guys, I want to just talk about some of the amateur organisations. We'll quickly fire them out and talk about some of their roster changes. So take a look at Radiant. So Radiant are officially looking to acquire a COD youth team to represent them in online leagues and also online cups. You've got Oblivion Esports, who are happy to announce their updated OBN youth roster, the likes of Trends, Arquini, Fusion, and Henry. Now, you might remember casting the eSport Hub Paradox. You might remember Trends and Henry. Yep. They have been in the scene growing, just waiting for that opportunity to turn 18, so they can have their chance. Void Gaming have announced their updated roster, which is going to be Extract, Liam McMonagle, what a mint name, Rude, and Svarge. It's going to be their roster. Embrace the Void. Let's take a look at Verve Esports as well. Verve Esports have picked up their official COD team. It's going to be Verve Custom, Verve Haslo, Verve Rammer, and Verve Tempo. Another one for you, Game Fist would like to announce their roster. It's GF Snake, GF Poffer, these are some insane names. GF Poffer Channel, I think that says. GF MP1 and GF Noisy. And now, the last thing I want to talk about. I'm going to go to you about it, Tony. I almost called you Patto. I'm going to go to you about it, Tony. Now, Stace is actually joining us in the chat, which is interestingly to talk about this topic. And Tony can give his direct opinion on what he thinks about it. Now, it's rumoured in the scene, Tony, that Stace left Idemina because he asked for a salary and didn't get one.
You obviously, mate, that was all just baiting. Stace ain't that guy.
Isn't he?
Nah.
Can we get confirmation, Stace?
Stace is none of the team. Do you know what, right? The lads in that team are actually all decent lads, like, and they're not that. It's just when they were leaving, people just tweeted rubbish, innit? You know what it's like. And that's something that, if anyone believes that, they're crazy, because there's no way on God's earth that they'd say that, like.
Okay.
No way.
See, okay, so Stacey said in the chat he didn't ask for salary. Well, I'm sorry, Stacey, but it's a rumour. It's in the Rostermania thing. We had to talk about it, so, I mean, I apologise, but we had to have a discussion about it. But that's a nice little note to end up our Rostermania. Stace did ask for 10 million, confirmed by Patto. There you go. So Stace did ask for 10 million a week. He didn't get it, so he went, you know what, I did mean, you ain't going to give me 10 million a week and make me as rich as Paradox? Well, then I ain't going to come.
What he actually wanted was I demeanour, because they're Italian. He wanted them to find him a nice Italian girlfriend. And they actually said to him, look, that's impossible, you drop, mate, with that Barnet.
And on that bombshell, we're going to cut to a quick advertisement break. When we do return, we've got Patto from Bulldog joining us to talk about everything in the amateur scene. Don't go anywhere, guys. We'll be back soon.
What's going on, guys? It's Paradox here for the eSports Hub, and we have another top 5 hot, fresh, out of the oven, just like a slice of pizza. And I hope you like pizza. If you're not, I don't know if we can really be friends. Anyway, let's get things off going with number 5. This one coming in courtesy of Unique, playing some hardpoint here on Breakout. Already spotted 2s. Make sure this loading control is fully for his team. Spots a third one inside of the hill, and he's going to keep it going. Going to pick up another one all the way down the dirt street. Spots another as well. The guy doesn't even have time to react. Another flying through the air. That's a 7th streak on the side of Unique. Team running away with it. Props to you. That's number 5. Number 4, I'm looking at JW Bounce. We're going to head to a little search and destroy action. This one's going to be a 1v3. Spots one around the bomb site. Able to connect. Uses the overdrive. Tries to get away. I thought he was going to get the snap on him there, but he uses the movement. Bomb has now been dropped. So it's a 1v1. Will he be able to clutch it up? I think. You know how this ends, right? You're watching a top 5 video for a reason. Let's get some hype going. Spots him right around the corner, cleans it up, and gets the win for that round. I wonder if they ended up winning that search and destroy. Their lives are on the line, but anyway, we're going to stay on the same map for the next clip. This one coming in from Chrissy, as you already see. 1 down, 2 down, gets the scarab, goes high up in the air, spots the third, picks that one up, and look at that. That's 2 tasty little search and destroy clips. Speaking of 2, we're already on number 2. We've hopped in the time machine and gone all the way back to Modern Warfare Remastered. Look at this clip. Has the deagle out. That bomb's not going anywhere. K Blowy picking up the first kill. Now, just going to use the methodical play. See some shots coming in across. Not going to use the deagle. You're not Momo. Not going to get that one all the way, but uses this. Look at that smart play. Spots him, pulls out the sniper, picks it up, and spots one around the A site as well. Trying to go for the ace in this round. Last one alive on the team. So, is a really delicate situation. Going to try and use the frag grenade. Throw that one over towards the bomb site. Looks like that's not going to pick up anything. With the time dwindling down, looks like he's going to pull out the M16. Pre-aim around the corner. This is where you got to have your shots ready, right? And unfortunately, doesn't see anything so far. Will he be able to pick it up? Spots one. Tries to look around. Knows this person's here somewhere. There we go. Here goes the engagement inside. K Blowy picks that one up. That leaves it at a 1v1. Time's dwindling down. Just 14 seconds left. Starts to defuse. Gonna try and bait out the last player. Spots him coming around the corner. You snooze, you lose. You took a little bit too much time. Steven's just like, I'm out of here. Like, it's gonna be 5-1. What am I even doing here anymore? That bomb's defused. And it looks like we are ready for our number 1 clip in this top 5. And it wouldn't be an eSports Hub top 5 if we weren't going to good old retaliation for some search and destroy. Jordan, congratulations. You already picked up the first snipe. Used the rewind to get away. And I love the thermal sight on the snipers. Look at this. You're able to get so much information, especially in these key situations. Spots one on the patio, cleans that one up, spots one down at the B site. And, you know, I don't understand how you guys are so good with these snipers, man. It's absolutely ridiculous. You're absolutely trick-shotting people in the middle of a competitive game. Spots the last one in the air. It's no problem. After those first 3, it's just a toss-up. Like, that's the easiest round I've ever done. The sniper race was completed. Anyway, thanks for joining us once again for an eSports Hub Top 5. Make sure you stay connected on Twitch and on Twitter. Both eSports Hub at the eSports Hub, and you can catch me on Twitter at...
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back from the break for the eSports Hub podcast here. Still joined by Tony and Paradox, but Tony's misread the message of the day, and he thought it said, bring your son to work day. So he brought along Patto.
It'd be better looking if it was my son.
And it's begun. Here we go. So we've got the battle of Tony versus Patto. Basically, guys, if you don't know, you probably know by now. Tony obviously is in the organisation. Well, he's the owner of the organisation, Bulldog Esports. And Patto is his long-beloved captain that has been in the team for a very long time now. How long, Tony, to be precise?
Coming up to 2 years, isn't it?
It's a match made in heaven, hey, Paradox.
Oh, yeah. Sounds like
it. It's a complete match made in heaven. I mean, the fact that you've kept Patto around for 2 years is an accomplishment in itself. Now, I have to ask you a question to start off, Tony. Have you ever thought about dropping Patto before?
Every morning when I wake up.
Patto?
Don't even know what to say to that. Speechless. I thought he had my back.
How about we get an introduction from him anyway, though? So, Patto, how have you been, my man?
I'm alright, mate. How are you?
Not too bad, not too bad. How was your recovery from ESWC? Were you getting the French land flu as well or not?
I was good. I take like hand sanitizer and stuff with me, so I'm not dirty like everyone else. But no, I'm just kidding. I've been fine. You gotta wash your hands and stuff and stay clean, and you don't get it.
Awesome. Now, the one question I need to speak to you about, and I want to fire this one straight away, is one of the things that we saw in Bulldog happen was the fact that you and Chunk are now LF2. Now, I just want to ask you if you're open with us here at the eSports Talkshow. I mean, what was the reasoning behind this? Why is it that you are LF2? Were Dreams and obviously was Dreams dropped? Was Dreams like left? How did it happen?
Basically, it was like everyone's attitude, like getting online to play. And Dreams has a lot of commitments outside of gaming where he can't get on for certain times. Well, he could, but it's his choice not to. And I thought with the amount that Bulldog like actually put in to go into events and stuff, it's not fair on them. I've teamed with Dreams for nearly a year and a half?
Yeah, just over a year.
And I was saying to him, like, look, if they're putting X amount in, we need to give something back. We need to give our time and effort in. And he was just like, he can't, his girlfriend and that. So I was like, oh, fair enough. And then we just like departed. It was on good terms though, so I was happy with that.
And is Dream still currently FA? Is he left the Call of Duty scene? I mean, how do you know how it's going there with Dreams?
I think he's playing with his brother. His brother decided to come back.
Okay.
I'm not too sure what he's doing yet. Like, I know he's playing every now and then, but I don't know if he's taking it serious and going to stick it out.
Is there a possible return of Risk It?
I'm unsure. It's a bit risky with the whole thing of ESW.
Ah, see what you did there. It's a whole risky.
Wow. Jack.
But a lot of people's opinions changed on him after iSeries and the way people found out. But I personally like him. It's just what happened before ESWC kind of messed it up for him.
Right. Well, I need to ask you this question, Pat. I mean, obviously, you told us you've been teaming with Dreams for about a year and a half. You've been in Bulldog for 2 years. But how long is it that you've actually been competitively playing for?
Jesus. I started playing 1 month before EGL 5 on Modern Warfare 3.
Wow. So how many years ago was that?
5 years.
5 years in the competitive scene and you're still in the ARM scene. What's going on, Patto?
Can I just leave now? You're lucky it's your talk show because I'd just start firing straight back.
I know.
One thing
this is why he's saying this, because you're being polite. There's no way you'd say this.
Because I also know that after this talk show, I am in for it, if I say certain stuff.
True.
But no, what I want to talk about, though...
I think he's thinking along the lines of, this is why you're on the desk now.
Yeah, pretty much.
But I mean, I want to talk to you about one simple thing, though, Patto, and that was we got the chance to have a conversation at ESWC, and I just want you to really quickly explain to the rest of the table one thing that you said, which was, it's never been about making the city real for you. It's never been about making the money. It's been always about helping other people get that success. And just quickly touch upon that for everybody that's listening.
I don't know. It's just I've always been like it, even before I started gaming. But I'd rather see help somebody and see them get somewhere and achieve something they want to do than be there myself. I don't know what to call that. It's like, for example, I'm gonna say it, but Revolt before, when he used to play, he was playing with really bad people, and going to events and get drunk. And I said to him, I was like, look, come play with me. And a lot of people questioned me why, and that kind of messed up my chances a little bit then. But I always said I'd rather help him get there than me be there, because I'm 22 now. I'll only be there for like a year, and he's like 18 now, and he's pretty much near the top, isn't he? So he's got another good 4 or 5 years in him. So I'd rather see people that are going to stay there for longer than have my 1 minute of fame myself. So
yeah, I mean Wuskins as well, one player you possibly could throw into there. Teamed with you at iSeries, and now he's obviously on the big boy scene. And
who else have he's teamed with? Reedy. Who else have you teamed with?
A lot of people have quit now, but yeah, I've teamed Revolt, Reedy. Had the chance to team with Rated, Wuskins. There's quite a few at the top. I can't just name them off the top of my head. I'd have to think about it. But there is a few.
So you're fully expecting then, when all these teams make the big money, that eventually little Patto will get a bit of
I've already signed contracts with them. That's the whole point. That's the whole point.
Patto's making sure. See, Patto doesn't need to play and grind every single day. He plays a little bit with them. When they get successful, then he takes, what he's been looking for. And the only question is, how much of that is Tony going to take? And that's the question, isn't it, Patto?
I'll fight for it.
95%.
Fighting for it. I've been going to the gym. I've been practicing the overhand right.
You've only been going to the gym because they've just got a new vending machine. I don't know what you're talking about.
There's M&M's in there, so you got it, haven't you?
The peanut ones.
Oh, no, the crispy ones, the milky ones.
But I have to ask you, Patto, 5 years playing all this time with all these different players, I mean, can you give me if I say to you a highlight of your playing career, what would you say it was?
I'd say my first event when I beat TCM on main stage. But nobody knew who he was.
Can you remember the TCM roster back then?
It was Monksy, Bissell, Tech, and Flux. Sure. Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, I think it was that. No, it was Mohawk, sorry, instead of Flux. And we went into that event and everyone was like, yeah, you're going to get slaughtered by him. It's going to be embarrassing and all this. And to be fair, we actually done really well. We beat him. And I'd say my favourite moment was the 1v4 I got in the first round.
Nice.
Apart from that, it's been boring since then.
And who was it you teamed with?
It was a school team. That's what made it better. It was just, there was 3 lads who went to my school and they was like, oh, do you want to come and play this gaming tournament? I was like, oh yeah, go on then.
And was this under Bulldog or was this...
It was called Team Chemistry. It was me, Kesmo, Whiteman, and James. Just literally 4 schoolmates who just decided to just play
cards. You got on 1v4 against TCM and you ended up beating them on main stage.
Pretty much.
Crazy. That's a pretty cool highlight to have. But let's move on anyway. So, a big factor, right, is salary. Okay? And we spoke about it before the break. We had a little bit of a joke. We said, oh, Stace apparently asked for this salary, and we had a little bit of a joke with him. But, it is a big thing, right? Now, I've heard rumours. Now, I'm going to emphasise that these are rumours. Now, apparently, one of the big things that was really difficult in terms of Red Reserve getting rid of Zero and going over to Splice, he was on some serious money at Red Reserve, okay? I don't know figures for much, but I've heard he was rumoured to be on some serious figures. In terms of salary then, Patto, I mean, what point do you pay a player? So, for example, you've got the likes of Splice, who are your top tier EU teams, yeah, they're being paid. And then the likes of Black Forest Games for a while were paying the likes of Revolt, Subsist, and Sam Baldy and stuff like that. That's a big gap. Now, that's nothing against Revolt and that, but that's a very big gap between the two different teams. But where is it for you, Patto, that a team deserves to be paid?
I think, right, the teams that should be paid are the teams that are in the league. 100%, but not the amount that, they say they're getting if it is true. But I'd say if individually, say if you was going to give a team a salary that aren't in the league, I'd say it's like what they can bring, to the organisation and stuff like that. So, for example, Tommy, when he streams, the amount of views and like the way he interacts, with the people in his stream and stuff like that, I think that's like a very good thing, to have towards your org. So I'd say people like that, who are streaming, doing stuff that would publicise you more. Because I don't think from the rumours I've heard, there is a lot of money, and I just laughed.
Yeah.
Like with the amount of money that people are getting. The only way I think you should get it is if you're in the league, or you've got like a big stream base, or you're into YouTube and stuff like that.
So in terms of figures, I heard that apparently, and now this is a rumour, and this is going to make a few of you go, what? And whether it's true or not.
I'd like to point out, usually your rumours are totally incorrect as well.
True.
I don't remember you getting one rumour right.
I heard that Zero was offered 70k.
Oh, you're off your red.
That's what I was told.
For a year?
I was told he was on 5k for Red Reserve a month.
Mm-hmm.
That's how much he was paid. And then he was offered 70k for the swap to Splice.
I've heard different from that as well.
So, rumours or not, but there's something that's not a rumour, is Patto's girlfriend, Stace, says she deserves a salary.
She deserves a salary more than anyone.
I was going to say, anyone in Bulldog,
You
she
agree?
probably does, mate. Yeah. Yeah, she has to put up one when she puts up with him.
She's not. She's on carer's allowance now, is she?
She should be, yeah. And secondly, when we go to events, she's so switched on. Like, I'll get there and I'll be doing other stuff, and I'll go, right, we need to get here. And she's already got timetables and stuff for buses and stuff like that. Or, right, these are the cab places. We can get here by this and that. And trust me, mate, she's proper swept up. Look.
Well, I want to talk a little bit more about the amateur scene while we've got you here, Patto. And I want to ask you specifically about competitive Call of Duty. Now, if you had the power to make any changes to competitive Call of Duty at this point in time, what would they be?
Well, I'd take salary out for a start. I think that's
Completely
just
stripped salary.
Yeah, I think that's got to everybody's head. Like, I think if salary weren't involved in it,
we'd see more competition.
You wouldn't see half those pro players where they are now. That's what I personally think, anyway. Because I think it kind of cuts the pros off from the AMs. Like, it's hard to explain. Say if you go back a couple of years, you'd see the pros and the AMs constantly scrimming, always scrimming each other and stuff like that. And I think it's given that little bit of self-ego where they think, they're higher than everyone because they've got a price tag next to the name. And I think that's the worst thing they could have ever done with COD.
But I know, like, personally, trying to build AM teams now, like, it's even a nightmare then, because some people, because they once knew someone that was once in an org and got a salary, now think that they deserve it as well.
Well, this is the thing 100%. As well with these teams and these players that are, like, I would still say are on the brink of the amateur, not necessarily pro, but are getting there, are now going to expect a salary in every single team that they join because they were once paid a salary. They're going to turn around and go, yeah, but I was actually paid, so therefore that proves something. So, for example, the likes of, let's say Revolt wanted to join Bulldog, and he said, look, Tony, I've been on a salary before, I want to be paid a salary again. I mean, is that a...
Mate, this is, right, I'm not even joking, this is an actual problem, right? Like, I'm not saying for him, but I'm honestly, like, there's times when we've been able to have a better team than a team that's been made, but at the last minute, someone said, oh, wait, a washed pro has come round and they've got them a contract or something like that, a salary. So people will play with these people. You've got people that go around and know people and can get you a salary. So they'll get free players that are probably better than what they are. And because they can get salaries here, there and everywhere, they're still in teams because of it at a decent level. And it's not necessarily because of them. It's because of what they can get. So now you've got people that were on a salary for a couple of weeks or whatever, and they expect that. They're like, I'm holding out for a salary because they think they're going to get it from somewhere. And trust me, a lot of the times, these teams that are around that level ain't always the best 4AMs or 4AM pros at that time. You know what I mean? A lot of the time, you'll find out that there's one in there that can actually generate people a salary, and he gets kept around.
I mean, it's gone from that point of, back in the day, the likes of AW and going into the early Black Ops 3, being paid a salary as a player was something like, wow, well done. Sorry, carry on, Patto.
It was just it was like the top players you got it, who brought something to the organisation.
And now it's lost that effect.
It's not everyone's got it.
Yeah, the effect of, I'm a pro player. I mean, we always talk about what's a pro player, and is it when they earn money because it's then a profession, or are they then a pro player? I mean, therefore, you're creating a basket filled with so many pro players that who are the pro players these days, It's hard to say. It'll be a massive discussion. We're going to try and round this one up, though. I mean, but, let us know in the chat, guys, really quickly, and I'll run through them at the end of the show. What determines a pro player? Let us know in the chat. We'll come back to it at the end. But I've got a few more questions for you, Pat, just quickly before you go. The last one I kind of want to ask you, really, is can you let us know of any Bulldog intel? Who is it you're looking at? Who do you want in the roster?
No. Basically, we met. I speak to quite a few people at events. And they talk to you and they're like, yeah, I'm up for it when I get back and all this. And then when you actually get back, you see the true side of him. And it's like what you're speaking about then, the salary. I've spoke to so many people that were speaking to at ESWC who said they'd be down to play, but they're like, oh, I'm just holding out on this offer. I'm holding that they're never going to get. And a few people have like, oh, I'd only come if there was a salary there. I'm like, come on, you went to the event and played just as bad as I did, and you want X amount of money a month. Like, you don't bring anything. So there's literally, I couldn't even name one person that I actually won a team with. Like, maybe one or two, but I'm not going to name any names on here.
Awesome. Well, obviously, Insomnia is getting closer and closer, so finding that roster, solidifying it, trying to get that position. You've got a championship to hold at the end of the day, Patto. I-59 champions.
Defend the title.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is that I bought a player pass for that event. That's all I'm saying.
There you go then. Well, at least you've got a good result.
I'll quit before that happens.
And if you guys don't know what Patto looks like holding his check, well, it's his picture on the Twitch stream. A beautiful picture of you, Patto, I must say. You're pulling a beautiful face in it. Courtesy of Tony. So you can thank Tony later for that picture.
Such a gimp.
Well, I want to go back to the chat because I did say what determines a pro player, and let's take a look at what some of you guys said. Aerox Infinity said skill level. Radiant Nova said play at the highest standard of play in their category. Ramsey Rampage said what determines a pro player well is if they win tournaments. Louis CM said pro used to be determined by players top 8, but now it should be classed if you are in the league. I mean, do you agree with those ones, Patto? Pretty much all of them are.
I think you should class yourself as a pro when you can make a substantial living off it. When you can afford to pay for all your bills and stuff like that and be better off doing it. Because there's no point saying, say you get £600 salary a month, you couldn't live on your own with that, could you?
Yeah, that's very true.
That's the way I class a professional anyway.
That's very true. And I'm going to ask one more question, and then we really are going to round this one up. Patto, I want you to build me a dream roster alongside yourself. Who are you picking up? Could be anyone from any region. Any region, anyone.
That'd be me, Formal, Scump. I don't know if anyone's better. A Chunk, because he likes eating.
Did you see the loyalty we have in Bulldog, mate? See, I could have picked anyone. I had Chunk and Patto. Patto could have picked anyone.
As if I sat next to Formal and Scump, I'd look like, big guy. So I'd, like the chubbiest on the team. So I have to get Chunk in so I look skinnier.
Use Chunk on the end to balance this seesaw out. So that, you know, I like it. I like your thinking on that one anyway. Dream team, Bulldog, Tony, you've got to get yourself on this checklist. You need to get Formal and Scump over to make this dream team work.
Well, if they're watching, you know what I mean? My door's always open. I give good hugs and we buy a drink at events and food and all your Uber rides. I will cover all your Uber rides and we've got nice jerseys.
And if you go ESWC as well, Chunk will buy you a baguette. Done deal.
He won't because he'll eat it before he gets back.
That's the thing. Formal Scump, you won't have any food. Chunk's got it. Chunk
had about 15 baguettes at ESWC, bless him. We're going to be no food then.
On that one, anyway, thank you very much for joining us, Patto, and good luck finding a team for I-Series. Hopefully you can retain your title. It's going to be a lot of tough competition at that event, but the best of luck to you anyway. Thank you for coming on the show, bro. Tony, been a pleasure having you on as usual. We'll look forward to seeing you for our next show. And also Paradox, with everything you wanted to know about Australia and CWLSydney, it came from the mouth of Paradox. But that's it for us, guys, here on the eSports Hub Talk Show. CWLSydney is our next event. Which team do you think's taking it? So many teams, so much competition. We'll see you next time on the eSports Hub Talk Show.
He's going to look at the first piece of never going to be the ball pit. Oh my God! Control.